I want people to be able to watch this and just be able to connect on a real level. Then we haven't sat down and scripted all of this, talking to people that have been a part of my life and people who have had an impact on me and the journey to be where I am today. Footage and all these people that have been in my life and a part of it all. So no, that's the best part. And I know myself, I love watching shit like this.
Arnold, please take that overall trophy and that IFBB Pro League Pro Card.
He was good at most sports, he was pretty fit and shit. He always does things to the extreme. When you're 7 or 8, if we're mucking around, he'd do the worst thing at school to muck up. I just knew when he started fucking lifting weights that he's not going to stop. So I reckon that just relates to his bodybuilding. Anything he sort of put his mind to, he was good at. Like, he was a really good guitarist too.
Something different, not just the typical meathead bodybuilder. Can do stuff. I loved guitar when I was early on as a kid, and my guitar teacher, his dad actually used to work in the factory. He was a sheet metal worker, the guy's father. And we went to see his son. He had some tickets for his son's concert that was into guitar. This was probably when I was just getting into it. I don't think actually I was into guitar really at all before this happened. So he gave the tickets to mum, we went to the concert, and I just fell in love with the way that he played guitar. So he was taught by Tony Ioannidis, and he was kind of like a one-man band type guitarist. So most of it was acoustic, a little bit of electric, but it was just what he could do with a guitar. To just have one guy standing on stage with a guitar, the sounds that came out of that guitar, I was just absolutely mesmerized. So I got him to teach me. I remember getting lessons when I still had my school uniform on, so it must have been maybe 13 years old, something like that, maybe 12 or 13. I think I had lessons for maybe about 3 or 4 years. And then everything started with training and bodybuilding. I just really wanted to put a lot more time into that, and this just became a bit of a part-time thing. Especially to the point that I got to, I learned all the basics, all the chords and a few basic songs. Enough for me to be able to muck around and create some music myself. Most of the time I'm on the acoustic, but other times that I just want to sort of get out a little bit of frustration or let off some steam and just have this just really sing out, put the amp up as loud as I want. It's really, it's quite peaceful. I was always jealous of people that could play instruments, I think, when I was younger. So, and the guitar for me was just such a boy instrument. So, yeah, I loved it. Never got to that level to that much commitment that he had, but it's enough for me to just muck around. It makes me feel good.
Jake was a very quiet baby. No one even knew that he was around. He was amazing. This personality, this little boy, full of so much energy and life. Almost magnetic for everyone. They loved being around Jake. Got to about grade 3, it was like this explosion.
Build him a swing at home, for example, but it wouldn't be a normal swing. It'd be something like a 20-foot rope. You swing him and he'd probably be going over the back fence and people would be driving up the street, and there's all of a sudden there's a crate and he's swinging halfway through the road and he's almost ducking, stuff like that. So he'd love all that sort of stuff we used to do. Homemade billy carts, get him interested in stuff like that. He loved all that, especially fishing, got into fishing with me. He loved fishing, bows and arrows, all that sort of stuff growing up. He had a little mini bike and I got it going, and he used to take him around at little factories and he'd ride a little bike around. It's cute.
And then got into high school and became extremely cheeky.
I don't know, I never took school seriously. I enjoyed being there because my mates were there. Matty was my best mate, Matt Honey. He's hilarious.
Especially at high school, that's where we fucking jailed, because he was running rampant, misbehaving and shit, and so was I, so we sort of fucking found common ground probably.
I'd be on detentions, and then I'd get detentions on detentions for doing something to the teachers. So if we were to interview some of my teachers, I'm sure that they wouldn't think that where I would be right now.
I was thinking this morning in the shower, we've probably known each other for 27 years. I reckon he was in my prep class. I remember banging around in like grade 6 and stuff, going to sort of those parties you go to when you get to like 13, 12. Yeah, we were both fuck ups. So, especially at high school, that's where we fucking gelled, because he was running rampant, misbehaving and shit, and so was I, so we sort of fucking found common ground probably. I think he left in year 9 or 10 to do plumbing, but he would have got kicked out for sure. He was one of the worst. He's an extremist. Not fucking terrorist sort of bloke, but he always does things to the extreme. Yeah, we're in year 7 or 8, if we're mucking around, he'd do the worst thing at school to muck up. You know, someone's smoking on the oval, he'd be smoking the most, or people are drinking beers, he used to drink shots. And we live really close, so we had a paddock in between our houses, and we used to just do heaps of shit in there, constantly. Like fireworks, orange guns, air rifles, dirt bikes, all heaps of shit. Just used to fuck around in there all the time. And like even playing Halo. I know we got right into Halo. You know, I'd want to go to bed and it'd be 6 in the morning and he's like, no, let's just beat this level, let's keep going. So he's just always to the extreme, focused.
And then the bodybuilding just came into it in about year 10. That was it. His fascination with bodybuilding began. He'd found his passion in life.
I just knew when he started fucking lifting weights that he's not going to stop. He's just going to do it to the extreme. And it's weird how I've got into bodybuilding. Like, I'm the skinniest cunt in the world. Never lifted a weight in my life. And then, yeah, I'm interested in it. Like, he gets you interested in it and it's fucking good. Because I've been to his comps and around that sort of world, and his trainers in the past have looked at me and then had a word to him. Is your mate sick?
Get the back, yeah, get a bit of back action. That's it, flex it. Ooh, yep, that's it.
When he started lifting, his legs were like the size of mine. We used to laugh about it. Now his legs are probably the size of my fucking sternum.
I had a lot of help from the beginning. Sam Ioannidis, who was like a 3-time Mr. Universe, Mr. Australia, he was a very decorated Australian bodybuilder.
Being presented by Paris, Sammy Ioannidis.
So him and I started training together. I think I might have been 19 years old. He kind of introduced me to the style of training that more the intensity of training that you needed to be able to change your body and be a good bodybuilder.
If I didn't think he's going to train hard and he's going to push himself, I wouldn't let him train with me. He just kept on pushing himself, keeping up and kept on improving. He ate big in them days there because he was trying to gain some size. He gained a lot of size. Even though he was getting smooth, it didn't matter. He was only young. You needed to gain that size to eat up, you know. But you could see everything started coming up, his shoulders, his chest, and you can see everything was coming up in proportion. The thing is, you know what, he was always consistent. He turned up on time. He ate well. He slept. He did everything properly. And if somebody's going to put everything into it, they're going to get the results. Never once came in and said, oh, I can't be bothered, or I feel shit today. He just wanted to train. And you could see it in his eye that he wants results. He wants to get big, and he did it. Now he's on his next step.
And then, of course, Lee Priest, one of Australia's best ever bodybuilders, one of the best personalities. Meeting Lee was a bit of a blessing because he's very simple with what he does. Old school, heavy training, 6 to 8 reps, you know, that kind of thing, which is what I needed at that time for my physique to get better. The diet advice and the supplement advice, same thing. It was just basic, no need to get carried away, no need to be stupid. Lee always said to me, if you're gonna be a good bodybuilder, if you're gonna be a good pro, he said, it's gonna happen. It's gonna eventuate that way. You shouldn't have to push it to force these things to happen.
People say, "You Lee Priest," I'm like, yeah, I was. I think it was actually back then Graham Lansfield mentioned Jake to me, and you know, I'd help people every now and then, but then some people you'd help, you'd get into training, we're giving them diets and they'd complain and shit, so I was always wary of helping people. And Jake was easy to work with because I'd be like, here's the diet, here's the training, and I might contact Jake once a week or so to see how stuff's going. But then you get other people who, every couple of hours, I'm looking this way, I'm looking that way, I've put half a kilo on. It's like, you know, just chill the fuck out and just do as I said and stop stressing about shit. So, you know, I almost want you to be there to hold the hand through the whole thing, whereas Jake, I could just tell him to do something and he'll do it. It's one of those guys too, when you train, you could train when you're serious and you could have jokes in between sets. So, you know, it's all about being serious, but also having fun at the same time.
We need stuff that they can actually use in the doco, Lee.
Oh, maybe I send him more crazy than anything because, you know, hanging around me, I can drive you fucking nuts. Yeah, but he talks all this shit. Have you ever heard him fucking encourage me? No. Never. Oh, Lee, with the injury, you're looking good, mate. You're going good. You're almost 50, mate. You're still fucking going at it. No.
Yeah, well, who taught me to be like that?
Some of the silly shit we used to do, like some of the stuff he filmed at the house with the band and wrapping his mate with cling wrap.
Still breathing? He's cut off.
You'll be fresh. You'll stay fresh.
Show us, Adam. Come closer to the camera. Okay, that's enough.
And we didn't tell his mother at another time when we wrapped him in the cling wrap and put him in the cupboard and with a big knife, so when his mum opened up the cupboard, he's standing in there with a big kitchen knife and cling wrap and she's screaming.
What are you doing?
Come into the kitchen.
Can you please take that off?
People always say, Lee, you're on drugs and doing shit. I said, no, that's just us being normal. I said, you know, God help us if we ever did get on drugs. Like, you just got to enjoy yourself and have fun. I've never been one of those people that I care what people think about me. I never have what I say or do. It's just, I'm just me. You either like me or you don't like me. And you know, you just got to have fun and let your hair down, whereas some people just take life too serious and stuff like that. So, you know, it's good just to joke around and have fun. But I'm sure Jake's probably got more funny stories than I can remember, but you know, plus we would take a lot of photos of us. I think he's been going through a lot of those photos now and old videos, trying to see what he could find. I don't know if there's anything he could never show, but I don't think he went that far. But no, it was pretty funny. And I do remember one time we were out in the other room where we were doing the band thing and there was a piano and stuff. I do think there was some other stuff that was filmed, but I don't think he's put that up yet. But I don't think it's too bad. No worse than what we've already seen. But yeah, we just come up with stupid ideas and just done silly shit.
Hey, Stitch!
Yeah, right?
Count us in.
You just enjoy it and have fun, whereas some people are just so serious when it comes to bodybuilding now.
You gotta yell a bit more, otherwise it's not hardcore. People are going to complain.
When I went to visit him a few times, I was even just seeing how he was with his family. It's that whole thing, you know, of being just the mindset, how he was with the family, how that sort of his attitude was and stuff like that as a person.
Honestly, I'm just shocked, like how far he's grown. When we got to this factory, I remember in here wasn't set up as a gym. It was just offices. Because he was that keen, training and all that. I remember he asked me, like, a few of the boys, do you want to give me a hand to bring all this stuff up that he's got from old school gyms? Gets in his own zone, no one annoy him.
This is where it gets a little bit tricky because people can think that they're doing the same exercises and mirror what I've just done, 2 exercises, and if they're not putting the effort, the intensity, the load on the muscle that they're trying to work, then they're gonna think that this is a fucking easy workout. But from what I've learned, even some of the champions that I've trained with, is these basic movements. If you slow the weight down, if you've learnt how to recruit the muscles, and that's something that takes so much time. People think that, oh yeah, the bench press looks like all you're doing is just going from there to there. But some of these guys spend 10, 15 years doing the basics and they still haven't mastered the mind-muscle connection, or they're trying to always improve on that. I feel like every time I train, I can get a little bit more mind-muscle connection, more recruitment, and just by doing a few basic exercises, by advancing with my ability to put the mind in the muscle, I'm able to get crazy pumps. I'm able to keep growing and keep progressing without having to do stupid weights or anything like that. So I think you do have to have some smarts about you to be a bodybuilder. A lot of people think you're just a meathead, go to the gym, but if you do have that mentality and you just want to fucking come into the gym and headbutt walls and lift as heavy as you can, most of the time it's going to end pretty soon. You're going to get injured. I don't think even the history of bodybuilding champions, the guys that just lift all that heavy psychopath crazy workouts, they get injured, you know. And we're talking about a sport that is judged aesthetically, how the body looks, the body parts all put together. So if I tear a bicep, a pec, a quad, anything like that, that's going to impair how I visually present on stage, I'm fucked. My career's over. So I think you have to have a smarts about you in a sense where it's like, I want to lift heavy, I want to recruit as much muscle as I can, but I don't want to fucking tear it. So Sammy Ioannidis would have been the intensity of the workouts. So just crazy form, rock up every day. Didn't matter whether he's sick, didn't matter if something was bothering him, just come to the gym, train. So that's where I learned, just doesn't matter what's going on around me, come to the gym, put all my effort into it, leave everything else, you know, behind. Then Lee Priest would have been more the volume as well. So Lee and Sam, I would say, both very high volume trainers, a lot of sets, a lot of reps, stimulate the shit out of the muscle, no excuse type guys. They're all champions for a reason. They've all got that same mindset where it's just get in, train hard, but target the muscle that you're trying to target. Now, don't just go into the gym and throw weights around for the sake of it. So a lot of it that I've learned from all of the guys that I take, and it's made me be able to progress as well as I have, would be to just stimulate the shit out of the muscle that you're trying to train. I'm not a powerlifter, I'm a bodybuilder. This is how you bodybuild. I can't remember who it was. Lee used to tell me stories. I think it was like, it was Lou Ferrigno or someone like that threw their dumbbells on the floor from like a shoulder press or something, and Joe Gold kicked him out at the gym. So Lee likes to, and I actually really do enjoy that about when I train with Lee, that we could train in just his garage at the back of his house, and it would be such an intense workout, but at the same time, we're able to talk to each other, joke around. It was lighthearted, and that's what I have probably taken most from Lee. It's like, you should be able to joke around while you train. You should be able to have fun. It's not about just being so hardcore all the time and having, 400 scoops of pre-workout and just being angry the whole workout. We would joke around, we would talk. Sometimes if he had music, he'd have ABBA on his phone. We'd be listening to Xanadu in the middle of a hamstring workout. But that was just him. When he trained and when he was locked into the piece of equipment or had dumbbell in his hand, barbell, whatever, he just switched. And then all of a sudden it's mind into muscle, doing what we have to do. Just completely zone out of everything else that's going on around us, train, and put the weights down. Hey, what do you think about this? Or, joke around, whatever. But I think that's a really cool thing to be able to do. I think that's probably why the longevity with myself as well is because I can joke around in between sets, I can think about other things, but then once I'm under the bar, under the weight, it's time to train, just focus and zone in on what I have to do. I've been doing it for long enough now, you can tell if someone's actually doing it or not. And I could tell that a few certain people that I trained were doing it, and you really want to help those people and go above and beyond for them. But just got to the point where the factory was as busy as it was. I started to lose my interest in the training, so I noticed that a lot of people just didn't have the commitment that I did, and I'm the kind of person that if I don't see someone really want results and commit as much as, because I know how much I commit to what I do, so I want to help people that are willing to do what I do. And it seemed like that's kind of few and far between with some people in the industry, so it was better that I just had that break of going into the factory now, working there, and then just being able to do my own training. So no personal training for me. If I'm around people that are motivated, like-minded, that train hard, and you can tell they're squeezing the muscle, mind-muscle connection, all that stuff, that motivates the shit out of me. But didn't get a whole lot of people like that. So it ended up draining my energy, and my workouts started to suffer. So that's why I thought it's better if I just go to the factory, do my own training. People just overcomplicate the shit out of all of this stuff. I've had some of my best chest workouts haven't changed. I'm still doing maybe 4, 5 exercises for chest, but I'm still trying to master these basic exercises and get better at them. So I think if I was at a gym, a multi-million-dollar facility that had state-of-the-art equipment, I would lose track of what really matters, the basics. You don't have to do 400 different exercises. So if I can just fatigue all of those angles, job done, call it a day, and that's it. No overcomplicating, no standing on my head trying to reinvent, a chest fly or a chest press, just the same basic movement patterns, basic exercises, done right with the right intensity, the right form, and don't have to do any more than that. My first contest was 2005. I'm sure it was 2005. I keep saying to people 2006, but I'm pretty sure, even if I look behind me at the trophy, that 2005 would have been a Victorian, no, actually it was Mr. Australia, teenage Mr. Australia, WFF at the time. I got really lean, even though I was skinny, but I was able to maintain my muscle mass. I got really lean. Didn't really have any legs whatsoever. I never had legs in the beginning. So I won my first show. So, that was really cool. The next step for me, I think Graham Lansfield got on my ear because he was the owner of the gym at the time, Athletic Health Club, and he said to do the Mr. Universe title, which wasn't even here. It was in Germany. I've never traveled before, never been on a plane before. And I thought, for sure. I said, yeah, no worries. I'll do it. I'll train for it, do what I have to do. Not knowing what to expect, I ended up winning that too. So I won the teenage Mr. Universe at my first shot at that. So you can imagine me being at that age, the high that I was on. Then I did the NABBA shows, WFF shows every year up until 2016. 2010 was my first NABBA World Champion in Malta, and didn't even place. I think I came maybe dead last. So that was probably, so I did all these WFF shows, I was doing well, I was on a high. Then I entered my first real bodybuilding competition. So the NABBA shows was more, National Amateur Bodybuilding Association. You had your bigger guys there, and especially overseas. In Europe, a lot of the guys in these federations over there are pretty decent competitors. So that was my first taste of bodybuilding. Got on stage, I pumped up like I normally would, looked how I normally would. I was pretty happy with how I looked. But then once I actually got on stage and saw what I was up against, I would have been probably 21 years old and just got absolutely smashed. So that was the first time in my bodybuilding career where I really kind of got hit, with a hook there. It was just kind of like, shit, okay, now this is what it's all about. And I suppose I had a little downward spiral for a little bit where I was kind of thinking if I still wanted to do this, just because I saw the size of the guys that were winning, and that's what I had to compete against now. Then 2011 I went to Brazil, did exactly the same show, a world championship, and I came 5th. So I got into the top 6. So I went from not even placing out of the top 10, the next year went back again, but this time it was in Brazil, and I got 5th. So that was obviously, okay, we're moving in the right direction here. 2012 I went to Ireland. So I went competed in Dublin in Ireland, and I got 3rd. Moved up another couple of spots.
Side chest, any side.
Look at it!
This is when I started to go on that uphill where I was looking at pictures and I'm thinking, shit, I think I can actually fucking do this. Looking at them, looking at me, it's like, okay, I know I've got a way to go, but if I'm looking at not placing, coming 5th, now coming third, and just to see how my body was progressing at my age, and they were like 15 years older than my senior. It's kind of like, okay, this is pretty good. I went to the World Championships 2013. This time it was in Italy. It was in a small town called Montecatini in Tuscany.
Jake Nikolopoulos.
And then when it came time for the call-outs for the trophy presentation, I heard 6th place, wasn't me. 5th place, it wasn't me. I've already been 5th before, so they went 5th. 4th place, it wasn't me. 3rd place, it wasn't me. 2nd place, it wasn't me.
Goes to number 21 from Brazil, Rodrigo Atis.
And then 1st place, they announced me as the winner.
And the winner, men class 3 from Australia, number 83, Jake Nikolopoulos. Photo, Brazil.
So finally, after all those years, not placing, coming 5th, coming 3rd, finally won it in 2013 in Italy, and it was the best feeling ever. So then I did my first pro show in 2015 in the UK, in England, and a lot of people didn't think that I would place, and I kind of didn't expect. I just wanted to see where I sat along all of the pro bodybuilders, and I got 5th. So then 2016, I wanted to have another crack at it again, because I knew that it was definitely within my reach, and I knew that I could beat these guys, but I needed a little bit more time up my sleeve. So this time it was in Birmingham. Was able to keep my size. I had no injuries, nothing like that. I got 2nd. So I was wrapped with 2nd. I don't want to come across like one of those guys like, oh, but I should have been 1st. If you watched the video, if you were there at the event, it was just one of those decisions where it's just kind of, look, it probably could have gone either way.
This is you, Jake, all day. All day, JK! Oh, you, Jake! Go on, Jake!
But I just thought that I did enough and I was worthy enough to be able to take that title that year. And be it as it was, I would have done the show again until I won it anyway. But once I saw what the IFBB Australia was doing and Pro League Australia is doing, it was a no-brainer that was the direction that I wanted to go in. So I'm glad that I did all of these other things leading up different federations, because it all kind of laid the foundations to where I wanted to be at that point when I made my decision to be IFBB Australia and to chase after that IFBB Pro card. I always knew that the end game was going to be, IFBB Pro, and I knew that I was going to be sitting down with Tony at one stage saying, I'm ready to, to make the transition to come over and let's go. But I knew it was going to be, again, small fish, big pond, starting from the bottom again, because that's just another league completely. And so I had to throw that pro card out. That doesn't mean anything anymore. And then start with the IFBB. So I thought that I was ready to take on an IFBB show in 2018. That was the first IFBB show that I committed to, which was the Victorian Championships. Everything about that prep was just wrong for me. I lost a lot of muscle, lost a lot of weight, and it wasn't a look that I was really happy with presenting to the stage. I won the whole show, but then a lot of things happened. There was some family trauma things that happened in lead up, which was playing on my mind, and I wasn't happy with how I was looking. After I decided to not do the Arnold Classic in 2018, all I did was I went on back to how I used to be, the way that I used to eat, the way that I used to train. That for me started to bring my body back to life again. I was eating heaps more food. I had a mate of mine, Aaron, he put a new perspective on things as well in terms of how much food to eat. He even had me eating pizza all the way through like contest prep, which everyone was like, how the hell are you eating pizza? I was staying big, I was getting leaner. But Aaron really sparked that fire in me again to start eating like a bodybuilder. So then definitely I had my sights set on the 2019 Arnold Classic. I'm like, no, that's what I want to do. I'm already happy with how I'm looking in the off season. I was a much heavier weight. And that's what I just gunned for that. And I was really lucky because Aaron was with me all the time.
Always been a big fan. Jake's just got the beautiful shape and the thick, full muscle bellies and stuff like that. So I watched him come along as a NABBA junior, eventually coming along now and being an IFBB Pro League pro, which is well deserving too. I thought he looked great. From seeing him as a junior competitor, that if he kept going along the way he did and continued to keep his shape and everything like that, he could certainly make something out of his career. But he's one of the best amateur bodybuilders I think Australia's seen.
He called this guy into the office and he made him strip off, and I remember thinking, why is Sam showing me this fat kid? There's nothing here. That's what I remember about my first meeting with Jake Nikolopoulos. Unimpressive fat kid. Then I went to that contest 16 weeks later and Jake won, and he did look quite good, but I still didn't see a future superstar there. And over the years, I just kept bumping into Jake and he just kept on growing and getting better and better. And I saw him just move up through the bodybuilding ranks, and before I knew it, Jake was a big thing in Australian bodybuilding, and he was taking on some of the best guys in the industry as well, which something I really respected. He didn't shy away from anything. He was gunning for big titles straight away.
First met Jake briefly backstage 2007 at a NABBA show. I was competing. He would have been a junior then, 16, 17. His vision of what he wanted to do is what got him to where he is now. And his work ethic and everything, he was adamant about, no, I'm going to go out and win this universe, even if it takes me 5 or 6 or 10 years. And then when I'm done, I'll come to the IFBB. And he did. And, you know, everything speaks for itself. And I think it was just a matter of timing, and that was the way it was meant to be for Jake. Having worked with him, the guy's work ethic, watching him go from the first posing session to the pictures that Zen took, where his composure in his photos was just like a Greek statue carved by the ancients. And then to see someone that you've known and you've seen grow from like I said, from a little 16-year-old that I saw, you know, that was this skinny, to then that, and then to what he's becoming and what he's working towards is amazing.
People were talking, is Jake going to compete, isn't he going to compete? He went very quiet on social media for a long time, so people really didn't know whether he was, you know, it was sort of like almost the myth, you know, is he going to compete sort of thing. I knew in advance that he was, because as the head judge I get all the registrations. I kept my mouth shut, I didn't say too much. He was pretty much a winner straight away in that lineup. He was just phenomenal on stage.
And if Mr. DJ is ready, let's close down.
The over hundreds is the last men's open weight bodybuilding. So we'd seen the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the under hundreds. So we knew all the overall winners for all of those. As judges, we knew who had won, we knew who was going to come up against Jake, and he stepped out, and you know, he was pretty much a clear winner. Like, you know, obviously we have to get them on stage, we've got to stand them all next to each other and really assess them, but my initial gut feeling was, you know, this guy's going to win his pro card today. There's this huge excitement because Arnold's in the building at this stage, and we know that Arnold's final stop is the bodybuilding stage where he announces the pro winner. So as the judges, we're running the show, we're running the overall, we've got to choose an overall winner, but we're really keeping an eye on making sure that we time everything so that when Arnold walks next to the stage, bang, we're down to the last couple of poses so that Arnold can have a bit of a look. But then Arnold walks on stage and they're doing their last couple of poses. The head judge, who was Mo Musawi from New Zealand at the time, said, "Gentlemen, you know, step off to the side." And Arnold walks to the front, and he's got the overall trophy there and everything, and Tony's got the pro card ready to go. I think Mo's words were, "Arnold Schwarzenegger, can you please present the pro card and overall winner of 2019 Arnold 2, and then there was this little pause and everyone's screaming.
Nikolopoulos.
The first thing he did was he went to every single competitor that had been on stage with him and shook their hands. It really showed what sort of a person he is. He's a really humble person. He's a great person to have representing Australia on the pro stage. And then he got to do, you know, what any bodybuilder wants to do, you know, get up there and receive a trophy and a pro card from Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can't get better than that.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. I knew that it'd be massive for him, because back in the day we used to watch Pump and Iron, all those DVDs together. I remember watching it flat out with him. Oh, it was full on. I just sort of sat back and was like, just a big journey. It was a good moment. And even afterwards, just seeing him with the trophy and all the people just crowded around him like he was a celebrity and shit, it was good. So we were just out on our own in the outer and we were just going off. I didn't give a fuck, I was just fucking loving it.
He knew that becoming a pro now, I mean, it's a whole new ball game. You're no longer the top amateur, you are the bottom of the pros. And you know, making your pro debut in Australia, he wanted to make a statement. And a big part of that was his presentation. And the first posing session, we just went straight back to basics. From feet position to activating, deactivating, lat spreads, everything. Almost like he just started posing all over again and slowly worked. And you know, week by week, we posed every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. it was meant to be an hour, sometimes it was longer. And you know, he did the work. He did the work and you could see it, you know, his posing fitness and just his composure, and he was becoming comfortable with the posing and his physique. It was just all gelling into one. And he really also embraced the old classic style of posing, which was one thing that he always wanted to do, but just never knew how. And that was like giving me free run to say, hey, I want to pose like that. Well, okay, let's create something really amazing here.
I think it was an easy win. I really do. I think he was first, second and third. No disrespect to the others, but I think this was Jake's year. So I was really happy for him because it's been a long journey. We've sort of had this great connection from the first time we met, but I hadn't seen him reach his potential as an amateur bodybuilder. So I think he took it further than even he expected. And I reckon that's a great way to sort of step into the pros. But here's the reality, and I said this to him as well afterwards, that now it's like starting all over again. It's like being the best amateur footballer and then getting a mature age or a rookie listing with an AFL club. You know, you might look great in the local level, you look amazing, but then you get in where everyone else is already amazing and already established, you kind of can't get a kick. So be ready for that and just keep improving. So my advice to Jake and every amateur from the bottom to the top is just beat the last time you competed. So I said to him, get a picture of that pro qualifier, that's the guy you have to beat. You beat him by 10%, you're very competitive at the pro level. Do that again, you're going to give a lot of people a lot of problems, a lot of headaches. Do that again, and you'll be one of the best in the world. I want to give him all my encouragement in the world. I want to see him succeed, and I want him to be able to inspire the next Jake Nikolopoulos that might be holding out and pushing himself and believing in himself. I think Jake is a fantastic role model because he's a good person. He's obviously got a great heart and a good spirit for training, but anyone that's got a pro card has got to have some incredible work ethic and amazing self-belief and great genetics. But then there's self-belief, and I think that if someone out there's doubting themselves, they can watch this documentary, this story, and watch Jake and what he's been through to get where he's going to go, and I think they can be inspired by that, and I think that'll be Jake's one of his greatest legacies is inspiring other people to follow his path and to achieve the greatness that he has.
I knew he was going to win. I could tell that he was going to win the overall. When they all walked out there, you could tell straight away that Jake was a clear winner because he was a clear winner. Doesn't matter. You turned around from the back, you turned around from the side chest, abdominals, everything. He was a clear winner. There's no one standing anywhere near him. And then he went and shook everyone's hands. But that's Jake. A lot of people respect him for that. He's been brought up right. For Jake to get in there with Arnold to do all this. It's a once in a lifetime that you're going to have him get up there and take all these selfies. It was so good. And then when he went backstage, I went out around the other side, and his mum was out there giving me a hug, and she goes, "You know what? You really looked after him, as you know, from the start. So thanks for everything." It was good. It's the next step now, which is a big step. You're stepping into that. You get to look that much better than the guys that have already been up there, and that's how it always is. You know what? I don't think he needs to do much. Just keep on doing what he's doing, and just pushing himself a little bit harder. There's not much else you can do, because realistically, he's just as big as these guys.
Even going to his comps and all that sort of stuff, and I've never really doubted him, because just the way he focuses on everything. He's driven, really driven. See where he's come from and stuff. Big achievement. Well, it's the hardest sport, I reckon, in the world. Like the sacrifices and stuff you have to make. It's 24/7. I enjoy like looking on his Instagram and not seeing him for a while, and then you see him, you're like, fucking hell, like look at this. Fun sport to see your mate transform it along the way. So I love it. I love popping on his Instagram after having to look for fucking weeks or months and go, what the fuck? And when I've seen him, I'm like, fuck, put in a lot of work. I don't know what you're doing, but it's fucking working.
Jake could go either way. Some people have, the naysayers that think they know bodybuilding, say, oh, you know, he looks good on his own, but depends what he stacks up to next to a big guy. You don't always have to be the biggest guy to win the show. Sometimes it's the little pocket rockets that come out and blow everyone's doors off. He could be another Lee Priest.
Well, I always hope he's going to, you know, do the best he can, but, you know, with anything in bodybuilding, because it's so subjective, you never know what they're looking for. So it's like I'd tell Jake or anyone, if you're going into a show, forget about who you're up against, because, you know, you can look at people and go, this person last contest was smooth, so I don't have to worry about them, but maybe this show they're going to come in shredded, and someone that's shredded might come in smoother. So I always just say, be the best you can be. Jake's like me, he loves training, so no matter what happens in life, I'm sure he's going to train, but it just depends on if that being number one, being a top pro is the number one priority, or just going to shows, being the best he can, and just see what happens, because now he still has that balance of a girl and a baby on the way and stuff like that, so it can change your, you know, priorities up a lot. So for Jake, you know, I think his head's screwed on properly. He knows not to abuse anything when it comes to training and stuff like that. He's a smart when it comes to training. He trains well. He's not one of these guys that goes crazy with the weights just for show to put it online and has bad form. He's got great form and stuff like that. So I think his head's screwed on pretty right, that he could, you know, do it for a long time. It just depends on where his priorities are and how far he wants to take it and stuff like that. So, you know, I think, you know, he'll do it well as long as he wants to do well. And that's the thing too, it's about longevity really, because I'm getting closer to 50 now. I've been around a while. We've seen so many young kids who've come up, got pro cards, and then where are they now type thing. They just disappear or give up, or they do one pro show, doesn't go their way, and they're mentally like, well, I should have done this, and then they just give up. Whereas you can always tell the people that love training and love doing it, and they're doing it because they love it, compared to people who are doing it either for attention, for views online, for trying to make money out of it and stuff like that. Because I'm one of the people, if I wasn't getting paid, I'd still do it. I think Jake's the same. You know, he could have a normal job, but he'd still go to the gym and loves training. I think that shows in people when they do have that passion. Stuff like that. He's a smart when it comes to training. He trains well. He's not one of these guys that goes crazy with the weights just for show to put it online and has bad form. He's got great form and stuff like that. So I think his head's screwed on right, that he could, you know, do it for a long time. It just depends on where his priorities are and how far he wants to take it.
It's 50% good and 50% bad.
That was on your shoulder.
I'll be sitting in the car and be like, oh, yeah, I want to tell Lee something, or talk to Lee, I'll be punching his number in the phone, and I'm like, oh, nah, actually I don't.
This is what I'm going to ask him, then your brain's going, Lee's 10 replies to this question. None of them are good.
I must admit, I do feel very, very overwhelmed. I think a lot of people have been asking the same thing. How do you feel and stuff? And I don't think it's really the time to process it all. I haven't been able to really go through it all yet. It was only last night for the first time, which is, you know, 48 hours or whatever after the show, that I've been able to watch some footage back. and just start to feel everything for, you know, because when you're on stage, when it's all happening, Arnold was there obviously, it's just this big rush of just so much happening all at once. You want to be able to try to slow time down to take it all in, but it kind of just doesn't happen that way. The adrenaline's absolutely pumping, but I'm starting to now really just all the emotions and all the feeling, it feels real now. I can actually look back at it all and I can go back through all the feelings and how I felt and just the whole process, everything. Yeah, I've barely slept. I've hardly slept since after the show, just because just so much has been going on. So I think, yeah, it's just a build up of not just that moment on stage, but the way that I'm feeling now is, this is a 10-15 year journey for me, so you can imagine. But see, even you've been there with me, like you've seen me from the beginning, and I think that's why the feedback that I've had from people just exploded with so much emotion, and so many people have seen the passion and dedication and just the amount of myself that I've had to dedicate to this whole entire process. You know, I know that a lot of people see the couple of minutes on stage, but the people that have known me since I was a kid, they see the 10-15 years of dedication, the sacrifice, the discipline, the saying no to so many things and putting this stuff first, because I always believed in myself that I wanted to. This has always been my dream. You know, even when I was younger and I would go to parties, my friends would laugh because I would pretend that I would be drinking alcohol, but I'd be tipping it out behind my back, and I'd have protein bars like in my pockets and things like that. So I've always been obsessed with this whole entire journey, and everything, all of those shows leading up, all of the training, all of the highs, all of the lows, everything led up to that moment on stage with Arnold shaking my hand and giving me that trophy. Like, that's just the highlight and the beginning now of a professional career. So it's like, when you tell people it took that long just to actually turn pro, and now it's actually just starting all over again. It's like, people are just like, wow, that's so much. And I think that's why people can respect what I've gone through, and the emotion is so high, because it has taken that long just to actually get the pro card and start the journey as a pro now. You know, it's insane. I was so nervous. Like, every show I go into, you hear all of the feedback, who the favourites are, who's they thinking is going to win, who's your competition. So I always go in thinking I'm gonna lose. Like, there's a chance that I'm gonna lose. Some people might think that that's bad, but for me that actually drives me, because leading up to the show I'm nervous, but once I'm sort of backstage, once I'm pumped up, and once I'm taking it all in, then that's the moment for me where I know I've done everything I possibly can. I can just blank out all the competition, any outside interference, and just focus on me. And that's what I literally was doing. I just closed my eyes and I just knew, Jake, you have done absolutely everything to be where you are right now, right here today. You haven't missed any cardio, you haven't missed a diet. This is your moment, this is your time. And I think that's when my confidence just really sort of came through. And then when they put us on stage in the overall, I think there was maybe 5, I'm not sure if there was 5 of us. Was there 5 of us on stage? We'd have to, I'm not exactly sure. But I think I was second from the side, so I wasn't quite in the middle. So as soon as the head judge then in the overall, which was obviously going to be presented by Arnold, once he swapped me to the middle, just in the fashion of how shows are normally judged, once they put someone into the middle, I think straight away in my mind I was just like, holy fuck, I think it's actually happening. Like, and that's when it really kicked in for me, where I knew it was a possibility that this is actually my dream's going to come to fruition here. And then they put us through, obviously, our compulsories. They didn't move me from the middle, and my confidence just went up and up and up and up. And then they called it, man. You know, we were standing there waiting, obviously, in line. I was just, had my head down. I was just kind of just waiting to hear. I'm looking at my badge to make sure, what's my number again? 262. And as soon as they called 262, I knew straight away.
262, Jake Nikolopoulos.
Absolutely overwhelmed, man. Like I said, Arnold came from one side, shook my hand, Tony on the other. The amount of people in the crowd that I saw stood up and clapping, and yourself, Darran, on the camera, like, you've just captured everything, and I think that's what everyone is going to see. They're going to see all of the hard work, the discipline, the struggles, the sacrifice, the emotion, just that's all captured in that literally probably 60 seconds of me and Arnold, you know, interacting on stage. That was just my life's work really to this point, was in that moment. You've captured it beautifully. There's a photo going around that's captured it that I'll have for the rest of my life. That shows me, Arnold, with a selfie on his Snapchat. It's, you know, everybody has called me about that picture. I think if it was just me getting a photo with a trophy, a lot of people might have said, oh yeah, Jake's won a show, it's, you know, it's a bodybuilding competition. But having Arnold standing there with his phone, even people that don't understand bodybuilding, they don't even care about the trophy. All they know is that Jake's got a picture, he's in a frame with Arnold, Arnold's shaking his hand, he's on stage. Like most people, that's a dream come true. And I still don't know what's more exciting. Whether you asked me even before, you said if the pro card was taken away and the trophy was taken away, but I still had the opportunity to be with Arnold, would I be okay with that? 100% I would be okay with that, because that's an opportunity that probably for the rest of my life, I'm going to have that footage, I'm going to have that picture, and just that time that was spent on stage. It was very brief, the conversation I had with him. I said to Arnold, as soon as I shook hand, I put my hand on his shoulder, and I told him that I won the Mr. Universe in Germany when I was a kid too, like he did. You know, he won the Junior Mr. Universe, and he just said, fantastic, hit a pose. Fantastic, no, hit a pose. So then I hit a pose for him, and after that everything was just a blur, to be honest, like, because then that's when all the emotions can kind of really kick in. And we walked out the back doors then, and my family was there. I hugged my girlfriend, hugged my mum, hugged Sam Ioannidis, who was a trainer that was helping me when I was like 17 years old, and people that have all been there, friends from the beginning. So that's when I think the raw emotion and just the heaviness of the gratitude of the magnitude of the whole entire process just kicks in.
Could you have done it on your own?
It's no chance. You know, I know that it's me standing there on stage as an individual, but the amount of hours that people put in to me, helping me, the sacrifices that my family's made over the years. My girlfriend Stacey, she's been with me through this whole entire thing, the ups and downs, the highs, the lows. You know, you see on stage the final product, you know, the smiling, the showpiece and everything to show it off for the event, but behind the scenes it's brutal. You know, you're doing the cardio, you're doing the low calories, you're doing all of these things that you know, that's depleting the body, and I've got the best support structure around me to make that whole process just amazing. You know, they understand the struggles, but the bigger thing is they want to see me do well. So when I won, everyone's breaking down, everybody's crying, because it's all of us. You know, we're all a part of it together, and I don't feel as if I'm the only one that went through it. I feel as if we all went through it. You know, as hard as it is sometimes to not go to some events, to be able to miss out on a lot of things, you know, because this is my dream, this is my goal. But they've believed in me, they've supported me, they've been there for me every step of the way, and now we can all share it together. And I think that's why it is so special. So many people, I think that this is selfish, it's a selfish sport, and they treat it selfishly and they isolate themselves. And then even if they do win, if they've got nobody to share it with, no one to go back home to, nobody to say we did it or anything like that, I couldn't imagine that. You know, for me, that's the greatest part of being able to just look at my girlfriend, look at my family, and just say, you know, we did it. You know, we did it, and let's enjoy it. You know, let's enjoy the moment. And I think that that's probably the best part for me, to be able to just say that, you know, we all did it, and it's all of us. It's all of us. You know, it's not selfish at all. It's not selfish. So it's huge. It's a massive thing. So couldn't be happier, man. Like I said, it's so many people around me to share it with that know what I've been through, and to compete at an elite level and become a professional athlete, it's a lot. It's a lot. And she's still here. She's always here. She's by my side. So it is. This is what makes it worthwhile. Having the people to share it with. Like I said, that's what makes it something special. If I was to just go home and sit in my room and just look at a trophy, big deal. You know, who cares? I've got plenty of trophies that I've won, which don't mean a thing to me. The thing that means everything to me is looking at the journey, the people that have been a part of it, the people that have supported me through the whole process. And yeah, like I said, that's something my grandkids and friends and family, I can share this forever, this moment. So I'm just overwhelmed, man.
It's hard to say, like, I think it's because I know how much he loves what he does. I love it just as much as he does. Like, I want him to just be like the best that he can possibly be. Of course, when he's in prep, like, it's time consuming, it's all he thinks about, especially when it gets like probably the last 6 weeks out or something like that. It's all that's on his mind. But that's just something that you work around. He still makes time for me. Like, we hardly spend any time apart. You know, you have to be prepared when they're so focused on what they're doing. I try to help out any way I can. I actually think that I'm really lucky because he's actually, I hear a lot of stories. I've got a lot of friends that, you know, have bodybuilding partners, but he's just the same old person that he always is. He's either, it's 0 to 100, but 100 is like he's hyperactive, he just is ADD kind of thing. But in prep, he's just a little bit more, like, it's a little bit of a lower tone. But apart from that, like, we don't fight. He just gets tired. You just have to learn to give them, like, I just learned to give him his space when he's doing his thing, not to think that anything's wrong when he's quiet. That was probably one thing that I learned in the first prep, was just like, if he's not talking to me as much, it's nothing to do with our relationship. It's just, he's just 100% focused on what he's doing because he wants to be the best at what he does, and I support that. You know, he's now got his IFBB Pro card, and he knows that that's just opened a whole new path for him. And I believe, like, within the next 10 years, like, he'll be someone that is really, really known.
Well, I'm happy to be able to be someone who can shape and shift things. Like, that's a nice position to be in because I know which direction I would like. Still, as a fan, like, if I'm thinking as a fan, how do I want the sport to be? And now if I can be in a position where I can kind of shift and shape things a little bit to do things into the way that I kind of envisioned it, then that's an amazing place to be in. So I think that's maybe one of the best things about being a pro too, is that you can have a little bit of a say in things and people are going to listen, and either people are going to like it or they're not. But I can only make the changes as if I'm a fan. Then I'll try to do that, and if people gravitate towards the way that I see bodybuilding, then so be it. And the way that I see it is like old school. I want people to be able to relate to me. I want people to relate to other bodybuilders. I don't want it to be just about lifting the weights. So as a fan, I think that's where things should be. And I think me now as a pro, that's how I'd like to be able to project myself to other people, is this is me, this is what I'm doing. I'm not trying to say that I'm a pro and everyone follow me because I'm a pro. I just want people to be able to see the journey, what goes into it, see me as a person, see that I've come from normal, humble beginnings like everybody else. And you know, being a pro hasn't changed anything in terms of me.
I've always been proud of him. I've known him as a kid, you know. It's like he comes from a good family too, you know, the family's really good.
It's so difficult for me to put into words. Sorry. To see Jake get to where he got, and to meet his idol and to win, was one of the most emotional days for me, because I know how hard he worked, how hard he sacrificed. He put life, his social life, on hold for so long, and to see him touch Arnie and shake his hand, I can't explain, I'm sorry. It was just amazing. I just wanted to run up onto the stage and just hold him and just say you've done it. Your dream, you've done it. I'm so goddamn proud of him.
It doesn't matter what happens, whether he does come third, he goes, well, you know what, I did my best. You know, so I think that's where it's good.
Oh, you're a proud dad.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
No, he's good like that.
Well, the 2020 Arnold Classic Pro Show, my pro debut, didn't go ahead. Reason being the coronavirus. It's just unfortunate timing, but you know, I 100% understand why the shows had to be called off. The big picture, I was able to still get in the best shape of my life. Now I was able to even book in a couple of photo shoots to use as a contest prep, so I still didn't break my diet. I kept that to be able to do the photo shoots. So at least then I could still try doing some peak week strategies and things to see how I would have looked come Arnold. I was very fortunate that Tony was still able to get a show for the amateur athletes, so there was still an Arnold Amateur Pro Qualifier. And then Tony Doherty called me up and he said, right, he goes, you're going to be on stage tomorrow for a guest pose, what do you say? And I'm like, oh, because this was in the afternoon after the photo shoot. After the photo shoot, I literally went to 3 burger places, had 3 burgers, I had some chips and had all of this. But just to have the opportunity from Tony to be able to get up on a stage and show something. I literally just drove there, tanned up backstage quickly, did a quick little pump up, and Tony welcomed me on stage. But I'm super grateful to Tony and IFBB Australia and everyone else that's in the background to be able to make that happen, because I know that show was never supposed to happen. At least now though, the pro debut, like another year now of putting on a little bit more mass or whatever, at least the pro debut I think will be even more impactful. Prep was actually perfect this time around. The changes and the gains that I made from last year I would have been anywhere between 5 to 7 kilos of lean muscle tissue. So everything that I did in the off season went back to eating a heap of food, old school training that I loved in my gym. Obviously I'm pretty limited with what I've got in the gym, which I find is actually a positive, and it's really good for me because it kind of stops me from wanting to do too much that I don't have. So it's forced me to go back to the basics, which has been one of the big reasons I think that my physique was able to put on so much lean muscle tissue. And the diet and everything, the prep really was perfect in a sense that every week all I've done is just get better and better and better. And probably the first time around, first prep, where I was able to actually get that skin thin and to have that graininess look to my physique. So the changes that I've been able to make since the Arnold's was absolutely, perfect in a sense that now I kind of have reassured myself that I can, be a good pro, because there are so many things that go into being good pro. It's not just about being a mass monster and seeing who can put on the most muscle. Obviously you have to be lean as well. You have to have muscle. It is a muscle building contest at the end of the day, and you need to be able to bring that condition. Well, really, straight back into now my personal life. We're about to have a baby, Stacey and I. And obviously I think my timing, my hours training are going to be a little bit different, having a newborn, having a baby. So there's going to be some juggling of priorities, but I think it actually makes it really exciting now, knowing that it's a different motivation. I want to be a good pro. I want to be able to do pro shows, and if that's going to help me provide for my family as well, then that's another whole new motivation. I never really looked at bodybuilding like that. It was more just to compete. I wouldn't say I don't do it for an ego, but it is nice to be able to get up on stage, get recognition from people. But now it's more, okay, I want to be a good pro. Can I be a good pro? And let's put the work in. Now that I know that I'm able to make the changes that I made and look how I did, now I just want to be able to be a good pro. And of course, the mindset now is being able to earn money and be a pro and provide for my family. So I think it's very exciting to have those kind of new motivations.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how it's done. Thanks, brother.
No worries, man. Pose down at the end.
Look here.
Oh yeah, no,
Gary's got me. Oh, fuck off.
Is this thing on?